All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome on back to the Cinema Lords podcast. It is about 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, damn near happy hour. Got my cocktail ready to go right here. But this is a weird time for me to be in the studio. Usually, I don't do any recordings really on Friday or the weekends unless I'm doing one of those big draft episodes that we do sometimes. Otherwise, I do all of my recording during the week, but it's been a very crazy week. For those of you guys that are fans of the Bear, I put out a Bear preview episode earlier this week with fellow Minifan Facts. Had a really good time doing that. Have gotten through the first 4 episodes. Loving it so far. Really looking forward to banging through the rest of that this weekend. But then, we got KMS basketball on Thursdays. My girlfriend took a day off on Wednesday, so we went to the beach. So just tough to record. So I'm in here. I'm also in here by myself. Those of you will see. I'm not. I was supposed to be in here with my buddy Luke again. But unfortunately, time-wise, it didn't work out. And I wanted to get this out at least on Friday so that this way people have 2 days to listen to it before Sunday. But I'm going to be doing the episode 2 recap for House of the Dragon. Like I said, I wish that Luke was going to be here with me because he is so good to have when we're doing anything Thrones related because he just does have such a deep knowledge for it. But, we're going to shift through just the same, even without him. The show must go on. He should be back next week, which I think next week is going to be a better episode, honestly, to have him on for because, at least for me personally, this week's episode 2, didn't really do a lot for me. I actually don't have like a ton to discuss. I am going to run through the episode and mention any things that I kind of took note of like I always do. But overall, I was kind of disappointed by this episode. I was definitely left wanting more, especially with the way that episode 1 ended. But we're going to get into all that stuff. Going to be a good episode. Before that, as always, I want to say thank you to Kirk Minahan and the KMS Network for allowing this episode to go up on their YouTube page. It's great to have more people checking out the show, and it just seems like so many more people have been keeping an eye on it and not just watching it, but have been reaching out to me and saying things that they like or things that they don't like. And I love that. I love that people are interested in this show and interested about talking movies and television more deeply because it's something I'm so passionate about. And I love seeing other people be passionate about it. And I'm looking forward to hopefully getting more Minifans on in the near future and do more interacting about things that we both love. So, thank you to Kirk for putting the show on the network and also giving me the opportunity to speak to a bunch of people who I probably never would have been able to speak to otherwise. So, thank you, Kirk. So now let's get into things. Episode 2. Following right off of a crazy ending in episode 1, Blood and Cheese sneak into the royal family's chambers, and they literally cut off the head of young baby Jaehaerys, who is in line to be heir of the Iron Throne. He is Aegon's oldest child, or twins. Him and Jaehaerys and Aegon's daughter are twins, so both I think about 4 years old. So we see King Aegon. He's absolutely devastated, as he should be. He's smashing up Viserys's goddamn toy castle set that he spent all of season 1 making, which is fucked up. Like, Viserys didn't have anything to do with this. Why are you fucking up his toy castle? Why is his toy castle even still there? That shit should have been like used as like a statue or something like that. It was really good. Someone should have like painted that shit. Should have been put on display somewhere. I think it was fucking nice. I don't know why. I understand he's upset, but there's no need for that. Regardless, he declares war against the Blacks. We see Aemon's doing some investigating. It seems that he's pretty aware that the assassins were sent for him. He goes to the room that he was talking with Cole in the episode prior at night. He sees that basically there is a entrance to a hidden passage that's open in his room. So clearly the assassins were trying to sneak into his room. Why would they be doing that unless they were really targeting him? Also, he sees that on the table that him and Cole were sitting at earlier when they were arranging the golden coins that is currency, they were using those almost as little families for the battle map to kind of plan out their attacks and shit. Those were all gone too, leading them to obviously be stolen. So the assassins clearly went through his room one way or the other. Have to assume that they're probably there for him. So that's something that you have to imagine he's almost going to probably take as a compliment because, he wants his uncle, he wants Daemon to consider him as an equal. We'll see Otto this is probably the biggest takeaway from the opening, is that Otto is horribly, mind you, horribly trying to console Allison. She doesn't want anything to do with it because it is such a lazy attempt. But I mean, we're maybe 5 minutes into this episode, like possibly less than 5 minutes in, and Otto is already going to be like, 4-year-old getting decapitated might not be the worst thing in the world. We might be able to spin this, which I get it. I get trying to find a silver lining even in the worst situations. That I get. But to do it this fast, I mean, bro, take a second to breathe, man. Everybody is fucking bawling their eyes out. People are getting rushed in and out of the Red Keep because no one knows who did it. Shit is in utter chaos and turmoil. And you're already sitting here trying to turn this into a good thing. It's just too fast. You just gotta settle down. You gotta breathe. Otto, this whole episode, I think it's a common theme that he's going to keep getting ahead of himself and he's going to keep playing his hand too hard, which is going to lead to a little bit of a downfall, at least for right now. I guess we'll see how things shake out. But we're going to go from there. We're going to go right to the small council, Aegon's small council, because we're going to see Rhaenyra's council as well. Aegon right away questions Cole, which is the right move. He is the Lord Commander of the King's Guard. Where the fuck were you? Cole's obviously not going to say I was banging your mom. So he says, I was asleep, which is almost just as bad. Like, I don't know. I get you can't be awake all of the time, but when a young prince is murdered in his bed, it is tough for the head of security to just be like, yeah, I was sleeping. Tough. One thing I did like about this scene very much, I did make note of this, Aegon, 2 burns. I loved both of these. I have to assume too, because this is acting. You have to imagine that he's an actual character. 2 quick, witty burns. Bitch Queen of Bastards and the smug cunt of Dragonstone. The second one definitely being the better in my opinion. If I was Rhaenyra, I would fucking use that as my name. Like, fucking the Andals, the Rhaenyra, the First Men, fuck all that, dude. I am the smug cunt of Dragonstone. Heir to the Iron Throne. Fucking recognize. Either way, loved both those. We then see the Clubfoot comes in. And the Clubfoot is going to keep on doing exactly what we saw him do during episode 1, which is try to inch his way closer to the king. And he's going to come and do this in a great way. He's going to give the king what nobody else is able to give him so far, and that is vengeance. He has found blood, which I believe me and Luke talked about it last week. It is possible that we didn't, and I just talked about this to somebody else, not in the studio. But I did find it very weird that the Clubfoot tells Alicent that he has been able to capture all of the spies in the Red Keep. He killed them all. He's replaced them all with people that are loyal to him and to Alicent. Now, I don't think the Clubfoot is somebody to miss up on many things. If he says he's got all the spies, I believe he has all the spies. So for there to be a guy in the fucking gold cloaks, which, mind you, used to be led by Daemon Targaryen, that would probably be one of the first places that he goes and looks for potential spies or guys that aren't truly loyal to the High Towers and to the crown. Somehow he misses this guy who truly hates the High Towers. That's kind of weird. He also misses this rat catcher who's not necessarily unloyal, but he is capable of being paid off. Again, that's something I think the Clubfoot would be able to find, recognize, and exploit. Somehow both of these guys skim under his radar. That seems way too much of a coincidence to me. I think that the Clubfoot is possibly... I'm still not convinced about the the White Worm either. At the end of season 1, he lights her brothel house thing aflame. Bad. But that's not... she survived it. So to me, there's a possibility that maybe it was a planned fire, that she intentionally escaped with his help, that they're still working together. She's the one that gave Daemon these 2 names. He's able to find one right away. It just all seems too convenient. He's the one that's able to find blood. It all works too well. I feel pretty confident. I would say over 50%. I'm going to go with 70% sure, at least in my mind. The Clubfoot and White Worm are working together. But we're gonna find out. Regardless, like I said, he's able to give the king what nobody else can, and that's some vengeance. And he was already trying to work him over a little bit in the first episode, so this is just a little bit more of that. He's working his way into the king's good graces. Otto regardless of finding out who actually is responsible for this murder, he wants to blame Rhaenyra. He wants to make a big scene out of the whole thing and try to sway the commoners of King's Landing all the way across the entire Westeros country, to the north, to the south, east, west, everywhere. He wants everybody to see what Rhaenyra is capable of, that she would hire assassins to sneak in at the dead of night and cut the head off of a 4-year-old infant, to really make her look evil, like someone that shouldn't be followed, like someone that shouldn't be garnishing any respect or loyalty from the other families of the kingdoms. Smart move, some propaganda, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, like I said, he doesn't care if it's true or not. It's just propaganda. Good for him, always trying to make something out of nothing. So like I said, he wants to set up a whole funeral thing. Aegon's against it, but he's against it because that's a good line. He's against it because he says that he doesn't want it to seem like the royal family can be attacked in their beds. It makes them look weak. Otto says you already do look weak. Again, kind of an example where he might be overplaying his hand a little bit. You can't say that and then not expect Aegon to take note of it mentally, and it's going to piss him off, and it's going to be something that sticks with him. I digress. He moves on. We say now that Alicent and the Queen Helena also need to be a part of this funeral service. We're going to have Jaehaerys go through all of King's Landing so all the commoners can see them. The Queen, the Queen and the Queen's mother will be riding right behind. They'll be able to see their grief. They'll gain sympathy. They'll win families to their cause. Nobody wants to do it, but everybody listens to what Otto says, because at the end of the day, everybody does what Otto says. Even Alicent. Even though Alicent wants to make it seem like she's marching to the beat of her own drum, it's all bullshit. She just does whatever the fuck Daddy tells it to do. Regardless. We do see... Now, okay, so this is one of the times where I feel like there was a lot of nothing going on. We get the funeral scene. The funeral scene, I thought, was completely and utterly useless. I don't know if they were doing it to try and build up that tension with that wheel being stuck and like, oh shit, is this fucking baby's head gonna pop off and is it gonna roll across the fucking street? I think that's what everybody was probably thinking, but obviously it didn't happen. Nothing really happened in the scene. We see the commoners kind of get overly close to Helena and Alicent, but nothing actually comes of it. And it'd be a little weird, I guess, if something did come of it, because right now it seems like Alicent and Helena are pretty loved by the people, I would say. So it's not like they have Joffrey walking through the streets when he's getting hit with fucking shit pies and stuff like that. More like Marjorie when she's being beloved by all the small folk. That's more the impression that I get. So I don't know why they were, so scared. Maybe because there is an open rebellion against the throne. Maybe they're worried about Team Blacks having spies here on the day of the funeral. Perhaps they're ready to jump into action and, do more assassinating, kill Alicent and Helena. Who knows? I don't know. But the scene did absolutely nothing for me. I thought it served not much of a real purpose. We do see that King Aegon is going to get his vengeance. They found blood, like I said. Blood is going to very quickly give up Daemon, but I don't think that was I don't think that was a surprise to anybody. I think that if you had asked every member of the Greens to place a wager on who was truly responsible for this crime, I bet you almost everybody would have said Daemon. This just reeks of Daemon and his goddamn hood, because that hood means bad. But we see Blood get what he deserves. He gets smashed across the head by King Aegon, which in a way was a little surprising too. I thought they would have made him, suffer a little bit, but it seems like it was just nice and quick. Bing, bang, boom. And then this doesn't happen until later in the episode, but there were some things that I kind of just combined it together because it just seemed easier to keep notes of. Blood gets his, and then we will also see much later in the episode that King Aegon is going to have all of the rat catchers in King's Landing hung out on display for everybody to see. Treason, working with the enemy, regardless of if we know exactly who it was, will not be tolerated in any aspect. There was one rat catcher they knew to be guilty, and they got rid of all of them. Which does bring us back to something that we talked about last week with Luke. This one I do remember for sure. He mentioned how in the books, and we see a little bit of in Game of Thrones, that there are cats all over King's Landing. Arya's chasing some. But all these cats were dumped in the King's Landing to handle the rat problem. Well, here you go. This is why there's a rat problem. There's no more rat catches. It's so facto. We're going to throw a whole bunch of cats in there. But both Blood and Cheese, they got what they deserved. You know what I mean? They got what they fucking deserved. You can't be sawing off the heads of 4-year-olds and expecting it to go unpunished. Also, they said that blood was carrying the head of Jaehaerys still. I think Daemon did mention that, like, hey, bring me that fucking head. I want to make sure you got it. Brother. Once the bells start chiming and gods are running around and people are panicking, you cannot be caught with a children's head in your pocket like it's a fucking cell phone. You gotta find a way to hide that thing momentarily where no one's gonna find it. You can drift back to where you're supposed to be. And then hopefully like a day or two later, come back, get the head, and carry out as usual. Bold, stupid fucking move to just keep a head just hanging on your person. Wild. Regardless, that wraps that. We're going to head to Dragonstone. We're going to see the Black Council meeting. And we're also going to get my favorite scene of the episode, which is a nice little Rhaenyra versus Daemon conversation. But Rhaenyra is being informed about the murder and all that, and a couple of the people on the King's Guard and her on her council don't come right out and say it, but they suggest that they think that she might have had something to do with this, just like everybody else in the kingdoms is gonna think. Like, yo, like, I mean, it does kind of make sense. Rhaenyra is like stunned though, like she fucking can't believe it. You see Eric there, he's standing like behind her. He kind of gives that guy a look too, like, yo, you want me to smack this dude down with my fucking sword? Because I will if you want me to, queen. Rhaenyra looks over at Daemon, gives him a funny little look, almost like, honey, can you believe the things that they're saying about me right now? And she just keeps like looking at him. And after a second, she's able to kind of judge by his body language the lack of him like actually looking at her, that he probably had something to do with this. And then of course he turns his head and just gives her a nice Daemon smirk, which might as well just be a scream from the rooftops, I fucking did this. But now we're going to get to things where things really get good. Rhaenyra and Daemon, they're out of the small council meeting now. They are in Rhaenyra's quarters. And this is a great conversation that explodes, and I think it's been waiting to explode for years and years and years. I think both of these characters have had so many of these things bottled up inside of them. They haven't expressed them, and now, finally, things are going to boil over, and they're going to say all of the things that they've been wanting to say to one another, basically their entire relationship, or their married relationship, I guess I would say. Rhaenyra points out that this makes her look weak. Daemon did that. Not her. It wasn't her decision. Daemon directly made her look weak, which is something that she said always knew was going to happen at some point. She could never truly trust him, which I don't think anybody can truly trust Daemon. Anybody who's ever been even remotely aligned with Daemon, say like the White Worm, Rhaenyra, Viserys, in any way, like you can tell none of them truly trust him, which is something that Rhaenyra points out after Daemon's kind of like, well, King Viserys used you as a tool to push me away from the throne because he knew I was the better brother, the stronger brother, more fit for leading. And she was just like, dude, he wasn't doing it because he's afraid of you. He was doing it because he can't trust you. I can't trust you. Nobody can trust you, because at the end of the day, the only person that you look out for truly is yourself. Daemon does what is best for Daemon, which he hates. He tries to fucking throw it to the side. He mentions all the things that he's done recently, crowning her and trying to sway families to her cause. He makes like some decent arguments, but he hasn't really had that moment yet to truly proclaim himself like supporting the queen. Not as like her consort, but as his ruler and everybody else's ruler. And I believe that's where he's going when this conversation ends. I think that Daemon does care about Rhaenyra way more than some people might think right now. I do think that Daemon does what's best for Daemon thing is what any normal person would think, but I do think that we're going to see more of a human side to Daemon, and I think it's, well, maybe not more humane, but more loyal, I guess, to somebody other than himself, more loyal to Rhaenyra. I think we're going to see him, we see him leave on Caraxes after this great conversation. We're going to see him leave on Caraxes. And then we're going to see his daughter Bela come in. She's going to talk to Rhaenyra for a second. Rhaenyra is going to send her out on Moon Dancer, her dragon. Dragon that we haven't seen yet. We haven't seen Bela on Dragonback. That's something that was hinted at both at this episode and then in the trailer for next week. So I think that's something we're definitely going to be seeing this week coming up. But I think Daemon, like I was saying, I think Daemon is off to Harrenhal to win Harrenhal over, to control the Reach, which will significantly help their standing in this war. I hope I'm right. I hope that's what he's going to go do. I hope he doesn't go and claim it for himself or some shit like that. That would bother me. I don't think he will. I think it's a possibility, but I think he is due for a big, big move that's not just a Daemon move. Although, I say that, I guess if he is to go claim Harrenhal, even if he does give it to Rhaenyra, it is still oh fuck, Daemon just went and did this. He's that motherfucker. You don't want to fuck with him. Even if he's not the direct king, heir to the Iron Throne, he's still king consort, her husband, her left-hand man, the leader of the armies, the fucking general at the top. So it's still going to make him look good. But like I said, this was a really, really good scene. I think it's my favorite scene of the episode. Even though it's just a conversation, this is a great, great Thrones, political, intense conversation. You can feel the intensity in their voices. You can feel the pepped up aggression. These, like I said, these things that they've been wanting to say to one another for so long, and now it's finally just exploding. I did also like how Daemon tried to basically pass off blame too. He was fucking, they're assassins. What can we do? They got the wrong guy. I can't be blamed. I told them what to do. They fucked up. It's my bad. It's my bad. He does also mention that the White Worm is where he found the two connections from. So that's something that is, I don't know. I keep coming back to that. The White Worm, Blood and Cheese, the Clubfoot. There is something there between all of that. I feel very confident. I'd place a good wager on it. Even fucking by myself, we still take so much time. We're going to go to fucking Cunt Cole. That fucking cunt. He is going to come up on fucking Sir Eric. Eric's fresh off that funeral procession. Walking through the streets of King Landing. The bottom of his white cloak. Fucking filthy. Cole's going to come over, give him shit about it. Tell him to go change it immediately, which is the definition of projecting. No one's cloak is dirtier than fucking Christian Cole's, and it's fucking tormenting him, and he can't stop doing all of the shit that stains it because he's a fucking lunatic. So he needs to take it out on somebody else. He tries to literally blame Eric for the murder of Jaehaerys while he was doing the definition of his job. He is a member of the King's Guard, and he was looking after the king. It is crazy that Cole would even attempt to do a spin move this obvious. It's insanity. It's lunacy. It makes absolutely no sense at all. Unfortunately, Eric kind of gets sort of in a way swayed by it. He doesn't take responsibility for the murder. He does fight back a little bit on that end. Helena's the queen. You would think she would have some kind of sworn protector at this point. Instead, I'm still sworn protector to Alicent, who's just the king's mother. Strange. You look at Cersei. Cersei had to go get her own sworn protector. She had to bring him back to fucking life with the help of Qyburn. But, so the queen's mother, the king's mother is not exactly someone who is going to be getting their own personal protector. The queen, though, yes. And she wasn't given one, which is weird. He calls him on Cole being in bed, which is a great move. And then Cole does the one, he's like, all right, fuck, I'm losing this argument. The spin zone sucks. I can't do anything to get out of this. Yeah, well, your twin was a traitor. Good one, bro. It was really, really, really well thought out. Great comeback. Awesome spin zone that absolutely no one saw coming, and it was very strong. My fucking God, dude, that's so bitch. You stayed with us, but your brother's an asshole. All right, cool, dude. Who gives a fuck? I'm right here. I'm protecting your fucking, not your family, but I'm protecting the royal family, just like you're sworn to do. We're supposed to be brothers of the King's Guard. crazy. Regardless, though, at the end of the day, it all ends the same. Cole is going to send Sir Eric out on a awful suicide mission. He is going to go to Dragonstone, kill Rhaenyra on her own island, surrounded by her own sworn protectors, which is in itself is a crazy, like, to send one guy to do this is crazy. To send a member of the Kingsguard, who is all about honor, is crazier. To try and, your whole concept of your idea is that, hey, you have a twin brother. You guys look the same. Just go and pretend to be him. Is so lazy. Like, it's not like people are going fucking shopping on Dragonstone and out to the club or out to the movie theater and there are people moving all around. Like, you know, Kingsguard, they're probably just kind of chilling in the same, like, 6 rooms on Dragonstone pretty much all the time. I can't imagine they're getting out very much, especially considering the fact that war is on the cusp of outbreak. Pretty sure his twin brother is gonna be nearby the queen, thus making it kind of difficult to get to her. I digress. Whatever. That's the mission that they end up sending him on. He agrees. We'll see how that goes. I just thought, my God, dude. Eric, just be a little bit strong. I get it. You're a soldier. You follow commands. He's the head of the Kingsguard, but fuck. It's just terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. We go to one of the weirder scenes in, I would say, Thrones or House of the Dragon. Maybe like top 15, because there is so many uncomfortable ones. But we see Aemond looking like fucking Lord Voldemort in the end of Deathly Hallows. Fucking Jew, circa 1941. Shout out Kirk and his Holocaust joke this week. But he's at a brothel house, no less, which is shocking to me because Aemond does not seem like the kind of guy that he would be at a brothel house. Regardless, he looks so grossly skinny. I was kind of like, dude, this is the guy that, like, we're supposed to fear as, like, a soldier and a swordsman and a warrior. Like, his legs look like they could just be, like, snapped off that easy in Endgame. Whatever. Apparently, Aemond was with his girlfriend, who's also a whore or prostitute, I think, during the time of Jaehaerys' assassination. But he confirms what I said earlier, that he did know that the assassination was, in fact, intended for him. He also confirms the fact that he was almost complimented by it because he sees that as his uncle thinking them on a level playing field. They don't want to meet in battle. He wants to take him out in his bed, in his sleep, not even get his hands dirty. I get that. He sees himself as a threat, which is what I think he's always wanted himself to be seen as. We do see, actually, one funny thing before we get into the regret thing. His girlfriend, whore, prostitute, whatever you want to call her, tries to, like, start giving him a kiss, and he's like, no, not here. Like, bro, you are ass naked in a brothel house. If this isn't the place to make out, where the fuck is? Regardless, he expresses some regret and remorse he has for what happened to Luke, said it wasn't his intention. Bro, if it wasn't your intention, maybe don't chase around your little cousin and his little dragon on the back of fucking King Godzilla. Just a thought. We go back to Dragonstone. We have a little conversation between Rhaenyra and the White Worm. She wants to know about her involvement in what happened in King's Landing and the assassination. She says she just gave the 2 names to Daemon in exchange for her freedom. Doesn't say anything else, but again, no one's pushing against these 2 names that were given. It's and that's weird to me. Daemon obviously bounces, so he can't be the one. But if I was Rhaenyra here, I might, considering that these guys were hired, they're the ones that made her look weak. They're the ones that went in, snuck in, killed technically her nephew, half-nephew, regardless, whatever. You would think that maybe there was a little bit more questioning behind it. Like, who are these guys? Did you know these guys? Are these guys commoners, small folk, soldiers? Maybe try to take some intro. Are there more gold cloaks that might be loyal to the blacks that are still there? Some sort of intrigue. Apparently not, but whatever. Rhaenyra realizes that this is the same woman that Daemon was going to marry back in season 1. But it looks like she almost admires her a little bit because she was a small folk, she was a commoner, and she was able to almost like elevate her way into some sort of respectable standing. She was able to trade the secrets, of powerful men to other powerful men, led her to money and like I said, some version of respect. She was able to get a house. I think she was like a brothel keeper. Like I said, I think she was the head of the brothel. So she was like, the mother bee. And I think Rhaenyra respects that and in a way can relate to it because she's also in a world where she's the only woman surrounded by men trying to earn her respect amongst them and be a part sort of their world, which Rhaenys has told her herself, the men are never going to expect you, never going to respect you. It's just something that's never going to happen. So I think that there is that common ground there between Rhaenyra and the White Worm in that moment. So I'm not entirely sure we've seen the last of the White Worm. I think we're going to see more of her. I think we're going to see more of her regardless. Like I said, I think she's connected to the Clubfoot, but I think we're going to see more of her maybe with Rhaenyra and the Blacks. Like we're gonna get to it in a second, but we see how her episode ends. It doesn't give me the impression that she's gonna be gone for good. So I do think that we're gonna see her play a role, and I think it is gonna be for the Blacks, and I think it is gonna be kind of like a friend, a consort, someone that Rhaenyra can talk to, who has ideas, who sees things from a different angle. Rhaenyra, while they have that common ground, like I just said, Rhaenyra's been rich and heir, royalty for her entire life. The White Worm is from the complete opposite end. Peasant, low-born. But they've both wanted the same things. So I think that she might be able to take a little bit of advice from the White Worm and maybe be able to, use it right now in a time of war. Might be the perfect time for it. We're going to go to... This was another good scene. I liked this one. This one was quick. This one is going to be Otto versus Aegon. And I guess Otto versus Aegon and Cole. Otto is absolutely furious about having all of the rat catches hung and left out for the people to see because what he wanted to do with Jaehaerys was win over the common folk, win over other families, get sympathy from the commoners. And Aegon has just completely destroyed that in one move. Because not only did he just kill them, he left them out on display for everyone to see, and it makes him look evil, and it's going to put a bad taste in absolutely everybody's mouth. He doesn't care, though. He heard that one of the rat catchers was responsible for the death of his son. He's grieving. He wants revenge more than anything. He hangs them all. Otto, again, like I've been saying, pushes a little too far, plays his hand a little too hard, and he calls Aegon an idiot. Cole says, yo, watch yourself. Calls him a fool. And he can see that Cole is starting to become too close, I think, to Alicent, to Aegon, probably even to Aemon, too. He's starting to lose that firm grasp that he has on everything. And I think he tries to fight that right now by being stern when I don't think it was the right play. I'm not sure if he had gone about it meekly, that would have worked either, because he's already gone about everything so meekly, and that's been something that's pissed Aegon off because he wants to take action. So that probably wouldn't have worked either. This is probably a lose-lose scenario for Otto, but what can you do? Aegon tells Otto that he wasn't the only one up to some shit. Kristen Cole sent Aeric to Dragonstone to slay Rhaenyra. I don't know if that was something that Cole did by himself and then just was like, hey, by the way, I did this, or if maybe this was something that Aegon told him to do. I don't think that's what it was. But either way, he told Aegon, and Aegon was cool with it. So gonna get some brownie points there. Otto has a good line. He basically says that Aegon is what Viserys always told him he would be. I think Otto had other expectations that he'd be able to mold him himself because he was still young enough, but clearly not. He is a little bit of that madman that Viserys was the complete opposite of. And Aegon expresses how in Viserys' closing moments, he named him heir. He truly believes that, which is funny because I'm not sure many people believe that in the realm. But Otto laughs at him, and he doesn't come right out and say it, but he hints at the truth of what really happened. Like, oh, is that you really, really think your dad named you heir? Like, that's adorable, little man. Not quite. But then the scene ends in a very cool way. Otto is going to lose his Hand of the King role for the second time during this series. He's in disbelief, and what makes him in more disbelief is Aegon telling him to give the hand badge over to Cole. And Otto wasn't the only one in disbelief. Cole looked like he was in utter disbelief as well. Which, fuck me, I cannot believe that this fucking cunt keeps getting rewarded and rewarded and rewarded. Head of the King's Guard. Fucking the Queen. Hand of the King. He's going to be fucking leader of the armies. This fucking guy just keeps catching W's, even though he is a total fucking dickhead. 100, not 100. A large majority, a large percentage majority can be placed on him for the murder of the prince. Like, bro, you actually should have been there, and you would have cut through the two of them like fucking a knife through butter. This is a large percentage your fault. And yet, he was fucking the queen at the same time. And yet he still keeps coming up with W's. It's fucking unbelievable. How much power can one man have, too? King's Guard, Hand of the King. I wonder, I'm going to have to, see, this would be a great time to have Luke here. I would love to know if he knows of that happening previously, future, any version if that's ever happened before. Head of the King's Guard and Hand of the King. Lot. We're going to get towards the end of the episode here. We're going to go back to Dragonstone, and we are going to have the Battle of the Twins, which this, again, kind of what I was saying in the beginning, this left me disappointed. I expect way more from this entire storyline as a whole. Rhaenyra is going to keep her promise that Daemon made to the White Worm, or I guess keep Daemon's promise that he made to the White Worm. And she is going to let her go free. She doesn't want her in Westeros, though, so she's nice enough. I'm going to put you on a ship, and you're going to go to the Free Cities. Okay, cool. Sounds good. On her way out, she's being escorted by, a soldier, a member of the Blacks. As she's walking down to the beach, you can see the boat on the horizon that she's going to be climbing onto. You see Lord Eric, who's been sent here on an assassination quest. She sees him, and she recognizes right away something is off, because she had just seen the other Eric, the twin brother, inside, whether it was like the throne room or the prison cells, inside Dragonstone, inside the keep. So she's obviously like, okay, something's wrong. He can't be here. He can't be here. She already knows that they're twins because they dealt with her in the first season. So she knows that there's two of them. She knows that they've been on opposite sides. So she's able to quickly put it together. We don't see if she does anything, if she lets anybody know. It doesn't seem that way. But maybe that's something we'll find out in the future. I don't know. But we go back inside Dragonstone. We see that Eric is able to get in fairly easily. So maybe the plan wasn't as bad as it initially seemed. But he's able to get through the front doors. He's able to shift through most of the Dragonstone keep. He goes through the room with the Westerosi table there. That fucking table's sick. But he gets all the way into Rhaenyra's chambers. He gets all the way in. And like I said, maybe the plan wasn't so bad after all. It seemed to work out at least this far. And it probably would have worked out all the way if there wasn't that, dramatic like words that he felt he had to speak. Like, dude, if you just walk into the room, you just walk right over to her, you just pull out your sword and you fucking cut her in half. Like, that's it. Scene's over. Like, show's over. You just ended the war. They're going to write songs about you. But he's got to be like, I'm sorry. Trust me, there was no other way. I just had to do this. You know what I mean? I don't want to soil my cloak. I'm not entirely sure what that accent was, but it felt right. Anyways, as he is done with his cute little words, pulls out his sword, makes a move, and Lord Eric comes bursting through the door. And there you have it. We have our Battle of the Twins. Last week we talked about this, and I said that I thought these guys kept getting screen time and that their story was going to lead to some critical moment or be a crucial part of the story. I did not think it would just lead to them having a duel in the next episode. And mind you, I don't even think this duel is particularly good. I think it was shot very quickly. Like, I didn't like how it was like the edits were just too quick and jumpy. Nothing felt like you saw it clean, aside from like that first slash that cuts open the Black's version of Eric. So this battle, it really didn't do much for me. I mean, especially as far as like one-on-one duels in like Game of Thrones. I mean, you think about like the Hound and Brienne, the Mountain and fucking the Viper of Dawn. Even honestly, even like Jamie and Brienne on that bridge with his hands tied, I feel like in a way is a more interesting duel than this one. Just the way that they go about filming it, the way he's talking to Brienne, this duel just didn't do much for me. It did not move the needle. And when I said that I was expecting more from these guys, I was almost half expecting them to both come from like a lineage of fucking, they have some slight ties to fucking Targaryen blood, and they fucking both end up on dragons, and they're fucking fighting each other on Dragonback, and then maybe they kill each other at like, you know, one massive battle during the Dance of Dragons. No. A little bedroom fight. Impossible to tell who is who. Trying to follow it based on camera angles and who got slashed where and when. Another member of Rhaenyra's Queen's Guard comes busting in. He thinking the same thing. He's like, yo, which one's which? I want to help, but I don't know who to fucking cut down and who not to cut down. In the end, we find out that it's Rhaenyra's Eric that wins the fight, but he cannot deal with killing his twin brother. So he apologizes to the queen, falls on his own sword, committing suicide, which is got to be one of the worst ways I've ever seen to commit suicide. But it is what it is. We lost both Eric and Eric. To me, a letdown for their story, a letdown for the battle. This whole episode, to me, I felt was like a letdown. You know, we're going to get to our last scene here, but then I'm going to go through like one or two last things. This is somehow going on way longer than I expected it to. Just fucking doing a Francesa. We're going to go to our final scene. Otto is going to be heading out of King's Landing. You know, he lost his job as Hand of the King. It also, he mentions that he's been exiled from the small council. So not only is he not the Hands, now he has no other role, so he's not on the council. So he really has no ability to give advice, give wisdom, steer Aegon in the direction that he wants him to like be steered in. So he mentions that he's going to go back to Old Town, and this is the first time that we hear mention of it, but we hear mention of Alicent and Viserys's youngest child, their son, Darren, who is being raised in Old Town. I think he's like a fucking cupbearer for like the head of Old Town or some shit like that. But Otto wants to go back there and try to mend him and warp him into the kind of guy that he wants to be, what he wanted Aegon to be, because he's still young. He thinks he's more mendable. So that's his new goal. He's going to go there and try to plan for the future. Darren also does have a dragon. He says he might become useful in the coming weeks. Who knows? Maybe he's thinking that another dragon will become useful. Maybe he's thinking that Aegon is going to go march, like, you know, flying into battle because he is very, you know, quick to act. He doesn't think things through. Even if he is the king, he'll go rushing into war. Maybe he thinks something will happen to Aegon, and somehow, some way, Darren might end up on the fucking throne. Who knows? But regardless, he thinks that there is something that he can do there to improve, obviously, his standing, because that's all he really cares about. I think he cares about Alicent a little bit, but at the end of the day, Otto loves fucking Otto, which is why I think Daemon kind of sees... I think, actually, Otto sees Daemon for who he is. Daemon sees Otto for who he is, and that's because I think, again, there are a lot of similarities there. They're both all about themselves. They're both willing to play into people's emotions to try and get them to do what they want them to do. There's similarities there. Obviously, Daemon's, you know, the glorified warrior, and Otto is more of a political mind. But still, there are similarities there. Instead, though, Alicent says, hey, instead of going to Old Town, why don't you go to Highgarden, The Tyrells and their Bannermen are starting to get feisty. They're starting to, I guess, basically think about switching sides to going to the Blacks. We need someone to go over there and, set up some goodwill and kind of reaffirm the alliance. And by the time that he's done, she says, hey, maybe things will have warmed over and I'll be able to talk to Aegon and you'll be able to come back and things will be able to be back to normal. So he's like, okay, fair enough. It's not the worst idea of all time. So Otto is off to Highgarden. I wonder if we're going to see Highgarden again. We literally only saw Highgarden in Game of Thrones for like 2 or 3 minutes, right? I'm pretty sure. I say right as if Luke's here. I'm pretty sure the only time, though, was when Highgarden was sacked by the Lannisters and the Rose of Thorns. Shout out Rose of Thorns, R.I.P. in peace. Jaime gives her the wine and takes her out. I think that's the only time we see Highgarden, though. So maybe we'll see more of that. I would like that. I want to see more of the places that we haven't fucking seen. We spent so much time in the north, and while it's cool to go to the north, and it's cool to go to the wall, and it's cool to see snow, I would like to see more of other places. Dorne is such a huge part of the books, especially like the later ones, like the Dance of Fuck. Oh, actually, no, it's right there. It is A Dance with Dragons. I was right. There I go, doubting myself. The 5th book, A Dance of Dragons, plays a bigger role. So I would love to see Dorne be included in here more somehow. I don't think they're going to, but I want to see more of Dorne somehow. It's probably going to come in that 1,000 ship show that I've mentioned a few times now. But Otto is on his way to Highgarden, and then to close out the fucking show, as if this episode wasn't, I wouldn't say it's bad enough, but whatever. This last scene has pissed me off. We see Alicent leave her chambers, or leave Otto, I guess I should say, and she is heading back to her chambers. And on the way, she comes across her son, the king, Aegon, who just lost his 4-year-old son to assassins in a beheading, crying his heart out by himself, devastated by the loss of his son, her little boy, her oldest son, her little boy. Does she go and console him, give him a hug, wipe his tears, kiss him, say, baby, we're going to kill them all. We're going to get the vengeance you so desperately seek? No, she does none of that. She instead leaves him, goes to her bedroom where that cunt Cole is waiting for her. And she tries to we've seen this in 1,000 movies. We've seen this too many times. We all know how this goes. She gives him a smack, then another smack, then a little push, and then next thing you know, he's finger banging her. She's looking up to the sky, praying to a god that she doesn't even know is real. 7 gods, Red God, Azor Ahai, who the fuck knows? All she knows is Christian Cole's got some fucking good hands. Might be the only thing he's good for. Fuck if I know. But you just left your son, the king, crying in a puddle of his own tears so you can go get fucked by the same guy that you were banging last night or 2 nights ago when your grandson was decapitated. You people, man. You two are the worst 2 people. Alicent is working, like Christian Cole's already there. I said a couple weeks ago he might be the worst thing since Joffrey. He's worse than Joffrey. At least Joffrey's scenes, occasionally, he's such a fucking madman that there was some humor in it. And it's like, wow, this guy's fucking crazy. Can you believe this shit? There is none of that with Cole. Cole is a certified grade A Olympic level fucking cunt. He is the worst thing that's ever happened to Westeros, Thrones, House of the Dragon, anything we're going to see in the future. And Alicent is quickly flying up the ranks right behind him. This bitch sucks. She lets guys jerk off to her feet. She fucks fucking members of the King's Guard when her grandson's being decapitated. She is literally sworn off her best friend, made her life a living hell for 20 years, all because she lied about losing her virginity, which is some petty fucking bullshit if you ask me. Regardless, this woman sucks so bad, I can't even begin to explain it. I hate these 2 so much. I cannot wait to see them both die, and I pray to God that they're both very, very, very painful. These are not the kind of people like my sweet Cersei Lannister and my sweet Jaime Lannister who deserve a nice, sweet, loving death together, embraced in one another's arms. These are cunts. They deserve to die in fire, in blood, in pain. And I hope we get that. Wild way to end the episode, though. Wild way to end the episode. I want to mention, I think what we got, three super quick things, and then we're pretty much going to get out of here. General, though, like I said at the beginning, episode, very underwhelming, kind of disappointing, expected way more, didn't get it, hoping for a much bigger episode this coming week on Sunday night. Couple of extra real quick things. We checked in on Hugh Hammer again, character we met in episode 1. Have no idea why we saw more of him this week. All we found out is that his family's kind of poor and they're struggling to eat. And he tells his wife that the king has promised to help out at some point. They have no idea when. To me, felt utterly and completely useless. The only thing that I could even remotely think of is that, hey, the king promised to help. Maybe he won't help. And that'll piss us off, and I don't know. We'll go make scorpions for the blacks. I don't know. If that's somehow it, then that scene should have had more meat on the bone to it because that was weak. We're back on Driftmark again in another scene. We see Alan, who we met in week 1, who, if you guys watch with subtitles, is wicked funny. Game of Thrones love to do this. They'll use regular names sometimes, like Alan or Eric, and they'll spell them like total assholes. So this Alan is Alyn, and he reunites with who I think is his brother. I'm pretty sure his younger brother, Adam, Addam. Bunch of fucking assholes. And by a bunch of assholes, I mean you, George. Finish the fucking book. Anyways, it seems like they're brothers, I think. Like I said, Adam would be the younger one. Regardless, there's definitely a real bond between these two characters. And Adam has heard about Alan's heroics. He saved Lord Corlys at sea. He's the reason why he's alive. And Adam's like, yo, you should be, getting rewarded. You should be getting a promotion. You should be sailing out with him when his boat's ready to go. And kind of like last week when Alan was talking to Lord Corlys himself, he didn't seem really over that, that interested. He was kind of like, yeah, if he doesn't come calling, that's kind of what I prefer. You got any of that stew? You put some carrots in that bitch. It's kind of weird. I don't know what's up with this Alan guy. I don't really get his drift. It might just be for him to introduce us to Adam, because we are going to get one other scene with Adam very, very quickly, placed in by itself later in the episode, where he's just on a beach. I think he's picking up a crab or some shit like that. And then we see a dragon fly overhead, and he's completely captivated by it. I'm fairly certain that this wasn't a dragon that we've seen before. I'm also not sure what dragon would be even near Driftmark right now. Daemon, we have mentioned this in one of the first 2 episodes we did this year, or this season, that Daemon did mention that there is a dragon at Driftmark that is unclaimed. I think it's called Sea Smoke, I want to say, possibly. So I'm thinking maybe that's the dragon that he saw overhead that he was captivated by. Maybe this guy is potentially going to be one of the dragon riders, because there's a bunch of unclaimed dragons. We're at the Dance of Dragons. These things have got to get fucking claimed sooner or later, and I'm starting to get the impression that we're meeting new characters, that some of these new characters have to be the Dragon Riders. So if it's not going to be this Alan guy who seems like he couldn't care less about a fucking dragon or a boat or a promotion or anything beside his fucking stew, maybe it's this Adam kid. I could see it. Who knows? Maybe we'll see more of him this week. I hope not. The trailer for this, the preview for this week looked pretty cool. Seemed like a lot of Daemon. Causing some chaos. So I do love that. But I think that was the last I had for the extra stuff too as well. I'm pretty sure that's pretty much all I got for this week. I think that's pretty much everything. Like I said, hoping to see a connection between the White Worm and the Clubfoot. I think we're going to see that at some point, definitely this season. I don't think it'll be this week, but it'll be coming down the road. I'd be shocked if it doesn't. Hopefully Daemon goes off and kills some shit this week. I've heard that episode 4 is supposed to be a banger, on the levels of Watchers on the Wall, Battle of the Bastards, Battle of Blackwater Bay. One of the top-notch battle episodes of the series. We'll see. It's high praise. But I hope everybody enjoys this recap ahead of Sunday night's episode 3. We will be back again next week, hopefully on Wednesday. I'll be back here with my buddy Luke to break down the 3rd episode. And then I've been starting to put together some of the work for it. But I think episode 4, we're going to be doing a recap. It'll be a Minifan recap. Going to be a little bit of a roundtable with a few different Minifans. So I think that's going to be a good time. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm trying to get more Minifans involved in my podcast. So be on the lookout for the next couple of episodes. I hope everybody enjoys Sunday night's episode. We'll talk to you guys next week. As always, shout out Kirk Minahan. Shout out the KMS Network. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you enjoyed Sunday's episode. We'll talk to you guys next week. Happy watching.